Welcome to That's Church. My sister Emmy and I are on a mission to open our hearts and minds by attending different churches here in Utah. We're talking to the beautiful people that make their church a community.
We are so excited to be here with Rabbi Sam Spector. We're actually totally fangirling. So it's a little embarrassing to admit.
It is a little embarrassing.
We heard you on a podcast and you were like one of our very favorite people on one of our very favorite podcasts. And when I told Ashley who we were interviewing, she's like, wait, it's that rabbi. It's the same rabbi? I'm like, yes, it's him. It's the rabbi, which you kind of are like the rabbi in Utah, right?
I try. I mean, there's a few others, but that was one of the things that brought me here, actually, was when I was in Los Angeles. I was one of 1,000 rabbis, and I was like, oh, if I left, how would that change the Jewish world? And it's kind of special to be one of a few in a very wonderful place because you get to make a big difference. So.
For sure.
And you grew up in a Jewish household, correct?
Yeah.
Nice.
Grew up in a pretty secular home, but it was a Jewish home, and we went to a Reform synagogue and went to Hebrew school on Sundays and had a bar mitzvah ceremony and all that. Had Passover Seder and celebrated Hanukkah, but it was pretty secular, and I became a little more traditional on my own later on. So, yeah.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Was there something that made you become more traditional in your faith?
Yeah. So I went through a little bit of a tough time when I was about 15 years old. My parents separated, and I took that very hard. And some other stuff was going on where it seemed like a lot wasn't working out the way I was hoping it would. And somebody gave me some really terrible advice. Which I'm glad they did, because otherwise I wouldn't be here today, which was, you should read the book of Job. It's all about why bad things happen to good people. So I read the book of Job, and it was like, bad things happen because God's messing with us. And if you just show your loyalty to God, everything will work out for you. And so I started becoming really religious and going to synagogue every week on my own. I'm keeping kosher, doing all that. And it didn't fix all my problems. I had my Israel moment. Israel literally means the God wrestlers. We're supposed to struggle with God and argue with God and grow in that relationship in that way, and even be angry with God sometimes. And I grew a lot through that and discovered that I had a deep love of Judaism and a love of learning and a real love of the community. And that kind of was one of the things that set me on this path.
That is awesome. I feel like a lot of times it goes the opposite way. People grow up in a more strict household, and then they become a little less and less so. So that's really cool. That's really interesting that you found your own path.
I think you have to find the beauty and joy of it. My dad has been very supportive of me on my journey. Where he and I sometimes butt heads is that Judaism was very much shoved down his throat as a kid. And so I talk about how I want to send my own kids to Jewish summer camp and have them go through confirmation and stuff like that. And he goes, but those were horrible experiences for me. It was shoved down my throat. And I think that we are today, younger Jewish leaders are finding ways to make those experiences fun and exciting and interactive. And so that it's not the experience that he had. And I think that's the key. If you can make religion personal and also fun and help people discover themselves, because ultimately we're all made in God's image. So instead of prescribing to them what their relationship with their faith or God should be, but having them figure it out on their own, then it can be a really beautiful, beneficial, supportive thing.
That's great. And
Completely
I think that's
agree.
so needed. As far as I know, so the more orthodox views, so there is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's one Orthodox church in the Valley, and then your church, and then there's one in Park City I've heard about.
We call it synagogues, not churches, but
Or synagogue, sorry.
it's all good. It's
That's what
common
yeah.
in here. There's an Orthodox organization called Chabad. They have centers. They kind of work on a different model than we do. They have centers now in Park City, Salt Lake City, Utah County, and St. George. There's a Reform synagogue up in Park City, Temple Har Shalom, and a small one in Ogden, in a tiny Reconstructionist Jewish group that meets here in Salt Lake City that doesn't have a building. Sometimes they rent space from us. And then there's our synagogue. And our synagogue is unique in that it's the largest synagogue in the state of Utah. We have slightly over 400 families, and
wow.
it's grown 35% in the last 5 years. Really exciting. But also with our synagogue, it is affiliated with both the Reform and conservative movements of Judaism.
Right.
That's fairly rare. And so we have the only Reform synagogue in the Salt Lake Valley and the only conservative synagogue in the entire state of Utah.
Wow, that's interesting.
How come those don't normally mix?
Sure.
Is there a reason?
Whereas we're all Jewish, there are different interpretations over Jewish law. And sometimes those interpretations can lead to clashes and saying, well, we aren't going to compromise in this way or that way. But we have a really special community that 50 years ago decided to merge two synagogues together that were both struggling at the time, and said, we'll each make some compromises, because at the end of the day, it's important that we have a vibrant community here in Salt Lake City. A challenge that comes with that is that in probably say like New York or LA, where there's so many synagogues, you can find a synagogue that really fits your Judaism. And here, I don't know if my synagogue fits anybody's Judaism 100%, but maybe every person who's there, it fits 80-85% of what their Judaism is, and then they compromise on those other 15% and say, I understand we need to make this work for everybody here, and that we can. And that can be tricky for some folks to do. But when you're Jewish and you choose to live in a town like Salt Lake City, Utah, I like to say, don't focus on that 10-15% you disagree with, but rather be thrilled that there's a synagogue there that welcomes you and maybe fits 80-85% of what you do agree with.
Right. Love that.
That's a great thought. I love the compromise in that, because I do think you've made it more about the community and just coming together as a whole. And, we might not agree on everything, but we can compromise. That's a wonderful thought.
Well, and also having a diversity of thought can enrich our experience. And I think that it's really special for us to have a community that has two different movements and so many ways to be Jewish, because we can learn from each other. And ultimately, nationally, we're seeing the Reform movement declining. Meanwhile, here we are growing, because we are taking the stringency and traditions of conservative Judaism and combining that with the inclusivity of Reform Judaism. And it seems like we're finding the best of both worlds that way.
So interesting. And are there rabbis at each of the synagogues that you mentioned?
Probably about 6-7 rabbis in Utah, something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
Not a whole lot of us, but and different branches of Judaism too. So.
Yeah. Okay. And I just have been curious about that number, because it does seem like there's a ton of rabbis in LA, and it's so different here.
In LA, I was the president of my neighborhood association of rabbis. We don't have anything like that here.
Oh, come on. You could still claim that here.
Yeah, I like to tell people I am the head rabbi of Mill Creek, Utah. So there you go.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Cool. So that kind of leads us to our next question, actually. We asked our listeners if they had any questions for you anticipating this interview. And we got a lot of responses, actually, but most of them, all of them except for one, we'd already planned on asking you. But the one was a really good question. She wanted to know, being in Utah, what is your experience, being that it's such a predominantly LDS or Mormon state?
For me, it's been a great experience. I mean, I think I'll start with negative in that it can be challenging for kids to be the only Jewish kid in their school, and maybe they get picked on and bullied. And I remind them that I grew up in Seattle, and there was one LDS kid in our entire high school, and that kid got picked on mercilessly. And unfortunately, yeah, I think that's kind of the nature of teenagers is what makes you different. It can be a little lonely experience, I think, sometimes. A challenge, I think, is that with such a dominant faith here, sometimes Latter-day Saints who've never lived outside of Utah think that all religions operate the way that theirs does. And I've had to explain, no, we operate very differently. But on the positives, Utah's the best place I've ever lived. And I love it here. And I credit the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints for that. I think I have the most unique position of any rabbi I know. The only rabbi in the world whose job compares to mine is the rabbi in Rome, who else is in the headquarters of a major world religion. When I was living in LA, everything was revolved around the entertainment industry. In DC, it's politics. In New York, it's finances. Here, religion and community and volunteerism, those are the important driving principles of Utah. And my personal experience, I know this hasn't been everybody's experience, my personal experience with Latter-day Saints and the church as a whole has been unbelievably positive, unbelievably kind, and gracious, and wanting to be with us. As just a very simple example from this week, the stake in our neighborhood reached out to me and said, gosh, Jewish people have sure had a tricky, difficult month and have so much on their plates right now. We would love it if our Relief Society could come and do leaf cleanup for whoever needs it, just to take one thing off of your plate. And that doesn't happen at other places. So Utah is a very unique and special place, and sometimes there's challenges that come with that. And at the same time, there's so many beautiful, wonderful things that come with that. And I think that I credit the culture that the church has of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints has been able to create in doing that. I've found it to be a wonderful family-oriented place to live, and it's been great.
Oh, wow. That's so impressive. I'm so glad. Yay us.
Yay you.
Yay Utahns. I've never thought about that, though. That's such a beautiful sentiment that what we're focused on here is community and religion. I've never thought about that service as a Utah thing. That is amazing.
Number one in the country in charitable giving and volunteering. It's one of the many things I brag about when I go abroad, when I talk about Utah. It's awesome. Wonderful place and with wonderful people. And what's special too, I think, is that Latter-day Saints have a narrative, unfortunately, as do we, of oppression, persecution, and also part of the view of the church is that Latter-day Saints are descendants of tribes of Israel. And so what I've personally found through Latter-day Saints is from the vast majority is a deep love of Judaism and the Jewish people, and a feeling of kinship that few people out there share.
I think it's interesting too that you mentioned your kids in school, because our kids obviously are one of many LDS kids, and they're just one of a million, and you're not special or different, and I kind of wanted something different for my kids. So we live in Midvale, and my kids actually, one of my kids growing up through elementary school, he was the only LDS white kid. He was the only white boy in his class, and also the only LDS kid in that class, growing up for like 3 years or something. And then there were more in middle school. But But I really wanted that for my kids, actually, because I wanted them to kind of see what it was like. And I wanted them to make their own decisions and believe in their own faith, not based off of everyone else is doing it, but based off of this is what I believe because it's what I believe.
When I was in Los Angeles, I was living in a neighborhood that was predominantly Jewish. Being Jewish is so special and wonderful, but it didn't make you unique in that community. And I'm sure for you all that if somebody in Utah tells you, "Oh, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints," it's not that big of a deal. Okay, so
Right.
most people. But I mentioned that one kid that I went to high school with. I went to a school that was grades 6 through 12, and I remember one day, when he was in high school, he was sitting at a table with a sixth, seventh grade girl eating lunch with her. And I mean, this poor kid, everybody made fun of him so much already. And, you're hearing now that weird Mormon kid is eating lunch with like some girl in sixth grade. What's he doing? And I asked him, like, you know that kid? What's the deal with you? Why are you seeing having lunch with some sixth grader? And he said, yeah, she goes to my church. And so they like got each other. And I feel like that's how it is here with being Jewish. Is sometimes it can be a lonely experience. But when you live in a place where you are such a minority, you have such a stronger sense of community and appreciation for who you are, I think, sometimes.
For sure. And I shouldn't say that I can totally compare, because obviously my kids live in a predominantly Mormon state.
Sure.
But I just wanted them to even have a little taste of that,
Absolutely.
So, and I love that they do. So anyway.
Yeah. I can tell, and on our visit to your synagogue, it was very apparent the feeling of unity there. And we are LDS, obviously, and we felt very comfortable there, and people were so warm and welcoming.
Okay.
And there was also other people there who were showing their love and support. And one of your one of the members of your synagogue came up and said how much it meant to her to see people there supporting you.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, I was just here to be here. I didn't realize I was here supporting. And I was like, oh yes, that's what we're doing.
Well,
but
Yeah.
it opened my mind to like, oh, there were so many things within that visit that I did not expect, that really surprised me in the best and most humbling ways, which we'll get more into, but just seeing how your congregation, a congregation here in Utah, thousands of miles from Israel, are affected personally. It was just very humbling. I don't know.
I mean, the challenge is, half the world's Jewish population lives in Israel, and so there's not many of us. It's kind of like, again, being a Latter-day Saint. Even if you don't live in Utah and you're a Latter-day Saint, you probably have a connection to Utah, and you certainly know people in Utah. And so half of the world's Jewish population lives in Israel, about half live here, and we all know people, though, who are in bomb shelters. We all know people who have been injured or killed or taken hostage, or are 1 degree separated from somebody at the very least, like that. And what's challenging too is already Jews who make up less than 2% of the United States make up 60% of religious-based hate crime victims in the United States, more than all other groups combined. And over the past month, we have seen a 600% increase in anti-Semitism in the U.S. So, it is a thing that is not only hard, but to see what's going on in Israel, but that deeply affects us here too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so unsettling to see the hatred in people. And I think of that quote from Martin Luther King: "You can't fight hate with hate. You can only fight hate with love."
That's right.
Going back to your experience here in Utah, we heard you mention on that podcast episode, we were referencing that you had a funny story involving an LDS leader here when you first came. Could you share that with us?
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. I had a few interesting experiences, but I'll say I knew very little about the church when I came here. Now I think I'm the world's leading Jewish expert on the LDS faith. But when people talk about organized religion, that perhaps the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and Judaism are bad examples of that, because I consider our faith a very disorganized religion, and I consider your faith to be a hyper-organized religion. It's unbelievable, the organization that you all have. And so when I got there, the church headquarters reached out to me and said, we'd love to have you come by church headquarters and meet you, introduce you to some folks. And I said, sure. And so I went and I had a wonderful meeting with some people, including one gentleman in particular. And the next day, I was talking to my very devout Latter-day Saint next door neighbors, and they were, I told them I met a guy who works for your church, and they said, oh, who was that? I said, Jeff. His name was Jeff. And they said, oh, and they're trying to think who their ward is named Jeff, and I said, what's Jeff's last name? I said, Jeff Holland. Do you know Jeff Holland? And their eyes got huge, and they said, well, we know who he is. And they said, we don't know him. And I was telling them, oh, you got to get to know him. He's a great guy. You should swing by, get to know him, talk to him sometime. Nice guy. And they were like, well, it doesn't work that way. And so they asked me, like, who is above you in your religion's hierarchy? Like, you must be a big deal if you're meeting Elder Holland. And I just said, I guess God. And again, this goes back to Latter-day Saints sometimes thinking all religions work the way that theirs does.
Right.
Where how these kids heard this was, our neighbor is the Jewish prophet. And so they were like raking my leaves for me, telling everybody the Jewish prophet lives on our street. And
I hope you just owned that and just went with that.
I did. My wife was like, you got to tell them you're a normal guy. But they were, again, raking my leaves and shoveling my driveway in the winter. I was like,
go with it.
I'll let them know in the springtime. Yeah.
when the leaves are gone, I'll let them know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
Awesome. That is so funny.
Okay, and so our next question we were wondering about is, we talked to one of your wonderful staff at the synagogue, and they mentioned that the conversion process can be, well, a bit of a process, and can take...
Why? Are you interested? I'm just kidding.
Asking for a friend.
Possibly. Who knows?
Possibly, yes. So, although Emmy and I did at the beginning of this, we're like, maybe we could convert to all of these churches. Like, has anyone ever done that?
I think that's called Unitarianism. So there you go.
Oh, that's us.
I'm in.
Unitarian.
But this one might take a minute because it can take 18 months to 3 years in some cases.
Or longer. I have a student who's been studying with me 7 years and still isn't ready. I mean, for us, an area where we differ is that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and other Christian groups are universal religions. And the idea of that is that you bring whomever into your church. Like when you go on a mission, you are not just talking to white people or black people or men or women or old people or young people or hot people. We want 7s and above, 6 and below. They can go join another church.
No thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But no, you are sharing your gospel with everyone, hoping that they will see that there's a lot of beauty to your church and that their lives can be better if they join your church. So that's called universal religion. For us, we are a particularistic religion. Even though we have been around for 4,000 years, there are fewer Jews out there than there are Latter-day Saints. And, we don't seek converts. For us, Judaism is a family. And I can't go knock on somebody's door and say, hey, do you want to join my family? We have to really get to know each other and build trust. And you have to make an informed decision. This is what you want. So when somebody wants to convert, I ask them a lot of questions that basically like, are you sure this is what you want? Being Jewish is not easy. And then if they really want it, we start to study. And I'd say for the average person, it takes about 2 years going through me. Different rabbis are different. And then after 2 years, if I feel they're ready and they feel they're ready, then we start preparing for conversion, and then they have to go in front of a panel that approves them. Actually, that's the thing I have next
Wow.
today is we have a young lady who is going before that today after about 2 years of studies.
Wow. And it can be, you don't have to be born Jewish, like nationality wise. Anybody can convert if it works out, right? One of your staff members was telling me that at that point, it's as if you were born into it. Like,
Yeah, for somebody who converts to Judaism, they are as Jewish as somebody who's born Jewish. Like I said, we're a family, we're a tribe, we're very tribal, and so for us, you can become a rabbi. Even you can do anything if you're a convert. For kind of like if I adopt a child, I'm not going to walk around saying, "Oh, this is my adopted son," and he's going to say, "Oh, this is my adopted dad." No, you don't say that. You say, "This is my son," and he goes, "That's my dad," and that's kind of what conversion is for us: is they become a full member of our family.
I love the richness of the culture in your community. Like it's like palpable. Like we felt it so thick there, and I think it is just that it's thousands and thousands of years, and but it is so beautiful. It's such a like obvious specific spirit and culture that I haven't felt anywhere else. It's really special.
Yeah, when we were visiting, I hope you didn't, I saw you maybe see us laughing, and I hope you didn't take disrespect to it, but we were trying to sing Hebrew, and it is very difficult.
It is a difficult language.
I'm just going to let people know.
I didn't notice, and I didn't think you were laughing at us. No.
That's good. No disrespect, but I was like, I'm just going to try it. Shouldn't have tried it.
You also look exactly like our brother. So like threw us off. It was a little weird. Like it's Aaron up there. Like it was.
Your brother's doing every Friday nights. You're like,
Aaron, what are you doing here in the synagogue?
Yeah, this is his other gig is being a rabbi on weekends.
It's a
really
rabbi
is,
by night.
It's a little bit trippy.
Exactly. So but what our tradition teaches in the Talmud is that we inherit the past, but we create the future. And for us, like Judaism can't just be an heirloom, but rather it should always be a living fountain.
Can I share a quick quote that I took from you in your sermon, actually?
Yeah, sure.
Because it goes so perfect. Great. It goes so perfectly with what you said right then. You said this first quote, which was, "Every Jew is responsible for each other." And then you said some other wonderful things, but you ended that sermon by saying, "Everyone is responsible for everyone." And it really touched me. The word responsible really stood out because I think it has so much more weight than just saying, look out for each other. I think the word, we are responsible for our fellow human beings, is just such a heavy and yet wonderful thought that, we need to take care of each other.
There's under Jewish law, let's say somebody is panhandling and they ask me for $1. I don't have to give them $1. Mm-hmm. But if they say, I'm hungry, I need to eat, I am required to either get them food or give them money to go buy food. The reason, and what we learn in our tradition, is that if that person were to die of hunger, the town that he is in is then responsible for his death because he was he was inside of the town and he was starving. And so if each person, like, again, I don't know what a person's going to use $1 for or whatever, but if somebody says, I'm hungry, and I go, no, and then the next person says no, and I'm like, somebody will eventually give him money or food, and nobody does, and he starves to death, all of us have failed that person. And what Jewish teaching says is that somebody who saves a single life, it's as though they've saved the entire world. And somebody who kills a single person, it's as though they've killed the entire world.
Wow. That is big.
That is very heavy and something that's I'm gonna have to really ponder about. That is such an interesting thought. It reminds me, there's a German phrase, and I, of course, don't speak German, so I can't remember the exact phrase, but it means, if I do something, I have to recognize that if everyone did this one thing I did, what would it do? Like if I didn't put my cart back in the cart exchange, I literally think this every time. Yeah. Like if I didn't put my cart back and nobody did, it would be a total mess. So it's just a good reminder of the good things you do have an impact, and the negative things you do have an impact. And people are watching too. So when they see us doing good things, it makes them want to be better as well.
Yeah, no,
I'm glad there's a thing that says that. I think that all the time. Like, if I don't do this, it's chaos in my mind.
I mean, so in our tradition, a mitzvah is a good deed or a commandment, something you're supposed to do.
Okay.
And we have a teaching that says that one mitzvah leads to another mitzvah, and that one transgression leads to another transgression. And we teach our children that at a young age. So when we're being kind and modeling good behavior, then that will lead others to do good things. But if we are being mean to people, or then it creates a vicious cycle.
I am going to use that. One mitzvah leads to another mitzvah. Oh, I love that.
And one transgression leads to another transgression.
And one transgression leads to another. That is very cool. My kids lately, we would try to keep food in our car, and my daughter is the one that really encourages me to make sure I always have food in my car. And she's 11 years old. She just loves it. But we saw a man recently in a panhandling, and he didn't have a coat, and it was a freezing day. And so I told my kids, okay, let's go in the store and buy a coat. And the entire time my 9-year-old boy kept like pulling on me, and he kept saying something, and I was like, what, like he just, and I couldn't tell what he was saying, and we were trying to just hurry with what we were doing, and I kept kind of pushing him off. And finally I'm like, what do you need? And he said, if we don't hurry, that guy might leave and we won't be able to get him a coat. And it was the sweetest thing. It was so cute. And so sure enough, we came out of the store and he was gone, but we still went and got a coat, and we have it in our car just in case for the next one that might need it. But anyway, it was so sweet. So I really relate to that. So we also were really excited to see that Hanukkah is coming up. I saw that. Is it December? I was just looking. Is it December 6th, December 8th?
The first night's December 7th.
Okay. The first
but
night.
It goes for 8 nights, and we have things happening throughout. December 14th is going to be at the Mill Creek Common with ice skating and menorah lighting. And December 11th, there will be something with the mayor of Salt Lake City. And December 10th, we're having a Hanukkah concert, which people are welcome to come to, buy tickets for at our synagogue. Check out on our synagogue website for tickets for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so we got a lot of great things going on, and really everybody's invited to celebrate with us. So
awesome.
What is kind of the most traditional Hanukkah? What does that look like?
Yeah. So
for like a family.
Hanukkah, to be honest, is not one of our more important holidays. It's just in America, it gets a lot of attention because of its proximity to Christmas. So my friends in Israel are always really surprised when they hear what a big deal Hanukkah is in America. But it's a fun holiday with a lot of singing, a lot of games, a game called Dreidel, which is actually kind of a gambling game if you think about it. But so it's kind of an LDS ward invited me, and I was all of a sudden all these kids got super into gambling. I was like, oh, okay, I'm not going to get invited back here. But they got really into it. Their bishop said it was okay since they were just playing with chocolate coins. But then we a lot of fried foods like jelly donuts and what are called latkes, potato pancakes, and we light the Hanukkah, which is the menorah for Hanukkah too, and it's a fun holiday. So yeah,
I kind of want to
really
be there
sweet.
for the lighting of the menorah.
Oh yeah, please come.
That seems like the coolest
Yeah, bring your
tradition that I
kids to
would
go
love to
ice
be.
skating and light the menorah and all that'll be fun.
That's
Yeah.
really cool.
We
Yeah, I'll
we
have
have
to make that
potato
happen.
pancakes in our history. I just wanted to say, and
Yeah,
because we're
very.
Polish,
We're both.
and those are gross.
They are
No,
great.
well,
I love
come and
them.
have something with us. You'll like ours.
Maybe I'll like yours. I don't
There you
know
go.
what Mom's putting in our Polish pancakes, but I'll take
You
a
don't
normal
like them?
buttermilk pancake.
There you go. You can have that too, I guess.
I like
Yeah.
them better. I think they're so good.
Yeah. No.
We'll
So
see.
you've really become known for your LGBTQ plus advocacy, which means a lot to me personally. I created an account on Instagram years ago, and it was all about allyship within the LDS Church, and just promoting that there are allies in our church, and I kind of created a little community on there of people who could, come and feel welcomed and seen and heard. And so we just love so much that you're doing this. Could
Well,
you
thank you.
explain your advocacy and how
Yeah.
it's helped you better support
And-
your members?
And
Sure.
part of the reason it means a lot to us is that we have a lot of people that in our family that are part of the LGBTQ community. And I don't love saying that, because I think there are so many people that are part of the community that are afraid to come out. And I think maybe it's that our family is really loving and accepting, and they knew that they could being in our family. And so
Well,
there are many that we know and are comfortable coming out to us.
Yeah. LGBTQ advocacy is actually one of the reasons I became a rabbi.
Tune in next week on That's Church to hear about Rabbi Sam Spector's work and advocacy with the LGBTQ community for part 2 of this amazing interview. Follow us on Instagram at That's Church Podcast, and keep listening for information on visiting the synagogue and upcoming events, and of course our bloopers here at the end. Thanks so much for listening.
Everybody is welcome for our services on Friday nights at 6:30 and Saturday mornings at 9:30. Just so you know, we don't use phones and stuff during the service, just so I can prevent some angry old Jewish person from yelling at you. But everybody is welcome. 6:30 Friday nights, 9:30 Saturday mornings. We are right next to Tanner Park on 2425 Heritage Way. You can also check us out online, and we live stream our services. You can follow Congregation Kolami on Facebook, or my Facebook, Rabbi Sam Spector, and go to our website at www.conkolami.org. That's CONKOLAMI.org. With Hanukkah coming up, we're going to have a lot of things, a few things that will be open to everyone, include December 10th, a concert. You can buy tickets on our website. That's going to be really special and amazing. And then also Monday, December 11th, we'll be having at the Public Safety Building for Salt Lake City a menorah lighting with Mayor Mendenhall. On Thursday, December 14th, we'll be having a menorah lighting at the Mill Creek Common with Mayor Jeff Silvestrini of Mill Creek, and also ice skating there. And all those things are open to the public, and we are just thrilled when we have people coming and supporting and celebrating with us.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Shabbat Shalom. Am I angled weird?
Whatever works for you.
Hey, dude.
Yeah, dude. Bro. I tell my congregants when they ask me, I tell them, if you call me Sam, remember I'm still Rabbi Spector, and if you call me Rabbi Spector, remember I'm still Sam. So,
I love
that.
that.
Whatever works for you.
That's so
That's
cute.
awesome.
Thank
I don't know
you.
what. Do you do something? Sorry, we just got done with Krishna. They do.
You got that namaste.
We're mixing our religions
Just say
again.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
We may attend more services. We always want to bring more people, so we're constantly asking who would like
You're
to
always
come.
welcome. And since
So,
we don't
thank
proselytize, nobody's going to push anything on you. Everybody's welcome.
That's church.